Guerrilla, as reported by our friend Joraptor, has been working on a multiplayer Horizon game for over 6 years at this point that we know of. Sony is not afraid to cancel their online projects if they don't work. 4+ have been shuttered out of the 12 they announced they were working on. So straight up a third of their games that they were working on, spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on, they've shuttered, walked away from. And then a couple of others have released and not done too well. But they did have Helldivers, so you got to give them credit for that. But they've been working on this for over 6 years. They seemingly see something special here that they think has the potential to be successful. But Joraptor notes it will still be hard to succeed in the live service space where many other single-player focused studios have failed. I totally have hope because hunting robot dinosaurs together could be amazing. A lot riding on this one. I expect the reveal at the coming PlayStation Showcase in May or June. I also expect it then. I also think that the comparison he draws to Monster Hunter Wilds is absolutely correct. Some people are saying because of the art style, they're like, look, it's like Fortnite. I can understand why you see that it looks like that, at least in this concept art that leaked. But I also think that this probably appeals more to a Monster Hunter crowd. And if it comes out close to Monster Hunter Wilds, they are fighting a big uphill battle because everybody who's into those games will just go play Monster Hunter. It's kind of the foregone conclusion. So they need to get this out soon if they want to really stand out. So I'm going to post this in chat. Okay. It's a straw poll. You just click on the link in chat, whether you're on Twitch or on YouTube watching with us. And I just want to have you vote. Yes, it succeeds. No, it doesn't. Just what your gut is, with the understanding that this is a live service Monster Hunter style game where you're going to be able to hunt monsters with friends. There will probably be a battle pass. There will be cosmetics and things like that to get. So I want to know your thoughts. My impression, while you guys go in and vote, okay? I'm going to let you guys vote for a couple minutes while I kind of go through this. My impression is that a lot is riding on it. A lot of it's going to depend on the presentation, because I think if they frame it like this concept art, it's probably not going to be too successful. I think the really cartoony vibe is a turnoff for more mature players. And a lot, like the demographic of Monster Hunter fans is a little bit older than the type that might like this style. But this could have changed because this is very, very early concept art. The game could have changed looks entirely by this point. You just never know. That being said, how it's framed will matter. Release time frames, just like Joraptor says, will matter, because if it's too close to Monster Hunter Wilds, everybody's just going to go over to Monster Hunter Wilds. And the other thing is, if it's, it matters a lot on the variability of fights, because in Monster Hunter, there is a lot of repetition, but the monster fights also have a lot of scalable difficulty, and the crafting systems are super robust, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they've gone about designing this. Is it also like open world, or is it like a Monster Hunter thing where you load into a mission and you drop in for an hour mission to try and take out these monsters within this time period, and then you kind of extract back to a home base or home hub? I don't really know which route they go, but it'll be interesting to see. If I had to vote on my own poll, my gut reaction based on what we know of the game now, my impression is that I don't think this finds inordinate success. I think even if it launches 6 months or a year before Monster Hunter Wilds, the moment Monster Hunter Wilds comes out, everybody's just going to move over to that. And again, this is a live service game. They want you to be playing for years and years. And I just don't know how this does significantly better. I'm not seeing it. But they've clearly thought about this, and they've been working on it for 6+ years. So they've probably considered many different things in many different ways to keep people engaged. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I guess I'm very, very scarred when it comes to live service games that I do not expect very much. Out of this, 75% of you are saying no. Now, granted, my audience is not, like, we're not filled with stans of Horizon. That's no mistake. You know, I don't think anybody should get it twisted. We're not a lot of, we don't have a lot of simps for Aloy or anything here. I also think that Joraptor's brought up an interesting thing in some of our podcast episodes where Horizon Forbidden West did well, but it didn't do significantly better than the first game. God of War Ragnarok did significantly better than God of War 2018. Like, the chart went up a lot. With Horizon Forbidden West, it's kind of just been a plateau. It's been like, yep, people who liked Horizon played this, but it's not like exploding in popularity. It's not like outpacing its predecessor a ton. And I think it's because like Horizon, at the time it came out, it's kind of like it's a difficult series to analyze, because on the one hand, in 2017, they launched right before Breath of the Wild. So they got overshadowed immediately. And then they get a second chance. They have the second game come out. You know what they're going to do? Release it right next to Elden Ring. Exactly, DevSo. And that's precisely what they did. They launched it right next to Elden Ring, and it gets overshadowed again. So it's hard to tell if maybe the perceptions and the initial performance of these games has been significantly affected by that. Maybe. I think with Elden Ring, it definitely was. With Breath of the Wild, I think less so, because at the time that Breath of the Wild launched, it launched on the Wii U, which nobody had, and the Switch was sold out everywhere, and it was a Nintendo product. So if you were just a PlayStation player, you were going to play Horizon. And with Horizon, it was a really cool and unique game visually and in terms of presentation. It was just a very different style. You know, it's a very different graphical presentation, and it's like, yeah, it's this hunting game basically, but it's also like a third-person adventure game, and then also has these amazing visuals, and then you're also fighting robot dinosaurs. How are they going to explain this and the lore and all of this? And you kind of experienced it through the game, and then you're just kind of good. And then the second game comes out, and it's cross-generational, and it's better by like turning the knobs up a bit, but it doesn't feel like a huge leap forward or anything. So I think that led to a lot of franchise fatigue for people. Same thing that's happened with Spider-Man. I think people have started to feel a bit of franchise fatigue, and I've seen that in the sort of lukewarm reception to Spider-Man 2. I think people are just waiting for the big leaps again. And every time you do like little incremental steps forward instead of big leaps, it's going to feel pretty frustrating. Sometimes you get exceptional stuff with like God of War Ragnarok, but God of War Ragnarok was a leap forward in terms of what they actually delivered to players. It wasn't just like, yeah, we added a couple new encounters and a couple new areas, and yeah, the first 5 hours of the game are going to take place in where you started or ended the last game, but it's fine. Like, it didn't really do that. Every time you thought you knew how God of War Ragnarok was going to end, and like, okay, that was the big moment, they added another and another and another, and it just kept getting more and more epic and epic and epic. Probably because they kind of crammed two games together instead of letting it be a full trilogy. They just decided to like squeeze it together so they can move on to the next one, but we'll see. I don't know. I think it was done very, very well. In the case of Horizon, I just think that some of the initial novelty of robot dinosaurs has worn off a bit, and I think they need to find a new hook, and maybe this multiplayer game is that hook. Maybe this is going to be the thing that reignites love for the franchise, and, you know, giving Aloy a break could be the thing that does it. I'm just not sure. Like, if I imagine a game where it's like, okay, we load into a server together, kind of like a Monster Hunter, and then we go from the hub out to hunt monsters with Horizon Forbidden West's combat, or roughly close to it. Like, okay, I think I could do that for a little bit, but I never found it to be that fun where I just wanted to keep going and keep going. And again, with these games that are kind of like live service versions of single player games or reworkings of the single player formula, you have to ask yourself the simple question, which is, what makes me play this over the single player polished narrative cinematic game that I can get elsewhere? It's the problem with that Spider-Man game that was canceled, because it's like, okay, well, when would I be playing this instead of just replaying Spider-Man Remastered or Spider-Man Miles Morales or Spider-Man 2? Why would I be playing this? And if there's not a clear, concise answer, it's really, really hard to justify playing this for years on end. You know, it's really hard. The world and concept is cool. It still just feels sort of like it's missing something to me. I feel like I actively avoided combat in Horizon 1 and quit it halfway through. I still insist in the Horizon games, there is a lot of bloat, and it feels like they tried desperately to kind of take nods from different games and their designs without really taking the time to ask themselves if they should. The best example I can give of this are the campfires. If you don't know Horizon Forbidden West, basically you got a big ass map, right? Lots of icons, lots of stuff, all sorts of crazy stuff. If you've never looked up interactive maps, by the way, look these up. You can even find it for like Elden Ring interactive map, and like straight up, it's a full interactive map with like each and every little bitty thing noted on it that the community has made. It's awesome. So look these up. They're tremendous to use. But in the case of Horizon, what are the campfires used for? They're used kind of as like fast travel points and also quick saves. So there's that, or longer manual saves. But look over here. This is the example I brought up in like the longer critique video I did of it. Look right here. These two campfires are a solid 10 to 15 second run between the two. They are super close. Okay, you just run along the trail, boom, you're there. And then there's another one right here. Like, and a shelter right here with a workbench and everything. So there are all of these campfires really, really close to here. Why? Well, you put these here to quick save, maybe next to a big boss encounter like snap maws or shell snappers. Okay, that makes sense. Or to fast travel. But why do you need 2 or 3 or 4 locations like this so freaking close together? Why do you need it? Well, I think it's because they realized they did some things where basically like you'll select a certain item or certain class of item that you need. Maybe it's a snap maw tooth or something, or whatever it would be called, the tank they carry on their back. And you need that. And it'll give you a yellow circle around here where you need to travel and hunt. So what it does is like you'll be running around over here and you're like, oh, I need a snap maw something. And so you make that as your active like task. I forget what they call it. I think it's tasks or quests, not quests, like missions or jobs. Maybe it's jobs. But anyway, you mark that as what you need, and then it pops up with the yellow circle over here. So what do? You fast travel to the nearest campfire. And because there are some different things, the green shine chunk here, you fast travel here. You run over, get it, and then you fast travel out. Here, you need to go to the snap maw, fast travel here, grab it, fast travel out. Oh, you need to go down here and get some claw striders. Well, we got a fast travel point right next to it. Go there, go grab it. Oh, but over here, I really need, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I need some green shine chunks. You can fast travel right there. Grab that one. Ooh, I need to go get the Tide Rippers. I'm going to fast travel to this campfire. There's always a fast travel point right next to the thing you need to do. And it's kind of the same problem that Starfield ran into, where it's like, yeah, you don't have to use fast travel all the time. Technically, you don't, but you're gonna. Like, again, if you give players a tool, they're gonna use it. And in the case of a game with a lot of like running around and collecting things like Horizon, especially when you put the markers on the maps, they're just gonna end up fast traveling exactly to where they need to go. So you end up spending a lot of time sitting in menus, and it just gets very repetitive as time goes on. The other thing, one of my good friends, Michael, he is a completionist through and through. He will play these games and he will get all of the stuff he needs to get in order to fully upgrade the armor and stuff like that. And he told me, he's like, yeah, no, one thing I realized when I was playing Horizon, he's like, I ran into this problem. I'll get to that in just a second, my friend. Thank you. I'm going to lose my train of thought. He said, like, I wanted to get, like, I don't know, maybe the Thunderjaw or one of these. He's like, I needed to hunt this big ass robot monster, but there's only a certain percentage drop rate of this item I really need when I fight him. So I can play the game on hard or whatever the very hard option is. And I can go through that and maybe get the drops I need. Or he's like, when I just need to grind out the crafting materials I need quickly, it's like, I just go and I switch the game quickly to very easy. You kill the monster. It drops everything. You grab it all, and then you switch it back to very hard, and you can play regular fights on very hard. But with those grindy like hunts where you need a very specific item from this big class of robot dinosaur, you can just switch it to very easy, get the items you need, and switch back. And for me, whenever the player feels compelled to manually alter drop rates and difficulty options, go into settings to tweak stuff so that they avoid spending more time in combat, so that they avoid spending more time grinding for stuff, I think something's gone wrong. Like, I think something has happened. Because if you ever have a game system that players intentionally avoid using because it gets boring or annoying, a mistake has been made. Players shouldn't want to skip any part of your game. It's why I don't really love fast travel systems in games, because when you create a massive world like this, you should want players to explore it. You should want players to want to run across the whole map, to use their mounts, to fly across the map. It's why it was so weird that this isn't really a spoiler, it was in trailers, but at the very, very end of the game, you get access to a Sunwing, and you can fly your Sunwing across the waters and stuff, and that's where like the credits play out and everything. But it's like literally the last thing you're given in the entire game. And that didn't make any sense to me. The whole game, you've been fast traveling, zipping across the map to all of these campfires to collect things. And it's like the last damn thing they do is they give you this thing that lets you just travel through the beautiful skies and trees and forests and mountains of the world. So why didn't you give us that first? Because I think flying over the map is better than just skipping it during a load screen. You know, like what are we doing? So I can appreciate a lot about Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, but to me it also feels like an amalgamation of a bunch of open world tropes that have been put into a game without much consideration for why or whether they should be in. And there's very little intentionality as far as I can tell with the placement of many of these things. Because you'll have some areas like this where campfires are super densely placed together for some reason. And then you'll have other areas where they are much more scarce. And, you know, you just have a huge stretch of forest where there's just nothing. I think this is actually an area you can't actually run around. So that's probably why. Maybe that's a bad example. Like over here. You know, where there's just not much. Over here, I think this is like the cliffside that you can't actually run along. You can't actually get to it. But anyway, with all of this, I hope that with this multiplayer game, they can find a way to maybe learn from some of the mistakes of Forbidden West and then also take it and crank it up in various ways. But my guess would be is that it's just going to be Forbidden West basically, but co-op. And you can go through and play with your friends and stuff. And that will appeal to some people. I just don't see myself spending hundreds of hours or thousands of hours doing that. Pal World, but in Horizon. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe they straight up let you go and recruit monster dinosaur robot things and bring them back to a base. Maybe there's base building mechanics and it just turns into a survival game. That could work. Maybe, but I guess we'll see. That at least would give it a chance to separate itself a little bit from Monster Hunter, but I guess we'll see.
He took my thing.